So I ran the grid algo trade room today, covered many topics, covered a lot on prop firm rules, critical trader psychology, some philosophical thoughts on markets and trading, and I covered a ton of setups. And I also covered all the items that are going to be in the brand new iGrid pack, brand new exclusive offer. Hopefully I can launch this offer by maybe Sunday. Saturday or Sunday, and anybody that's never been part of the Grid Algo program, you're going to want to see what's going to be included. It's going to be a heck of a value. So we have our what we call the GR88 trade. The reason we call it the GR is because it's built on our custom grid Renko at an 88 range bar setting. And I'm saying it now as a joke because I say it all the time. The settings on this chart are the same old settings I've been using since I first started showing this back months ago. I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, the GR88 trade, or a month and a half, I don't know, however long ago. So today, as I was running the live trading room, this is the 7:32 a.m. U.S. Central Time, Chicago time, or where the Chicago Mercantile Exchange is, or what we call Globex, a Globex trading session for this particular instrument, which is an indice. This is a micro contract of the NQ contract, so it's the MNQ on a grid Renko 88 chart. So anything past 732, I start looking for new signals, or I'm willing to look for signals. So right here, actually I've got my drawing tool. Right here we had a textbook GR88 trade setup. We look for a flat spotted grid MA alerts indicator. And then we look for the grid cloud to rotate, in this case for a short, from green to red, and start passing through that little column of price and the flat spotted transitioning to dropping of the grid MA alerts indicator. So the grid MA alerts indicator is the dots in cyan or Dodger blue. The grid cloud is the green and red. And then we have our candles. I have them set to a subdued color so I can focus on the indicators, not price. So I can see patterns and see the setups. So those candlesticks are the grid Renko 88. So it's basically a grid Renko chart with two indicators put up. And I am running the Ninja Trader 8 swing just to kind of see where intermediate and certain levels are on an intraday basis. You can take that off. You don't need it. That's the swing indicator right there that comes inherent in the NT8 platform. So I put these magenta boxes up before the video so you can see what the setup is, the exact entry. The criteria is not the first part of the cloud, not the inner part of the cloud in this case, but the upper part of the cloud dropping down through the flat spotted grid MA after a rotation, meaning it's pivoted and it's changing directions. So that would align then with the cloud starting to plot below. You'd be at the close of that candle and the beginning of this one would be your short entry. Actually, let's use a little arrow here. So that would be your entry candle basically right there. And then what we do for stop, the tightest stop we use is the most recent pivot point of the grid cloud. That's right there. The biggest stop, so, a fill here to a stop, that's your 1 unit of risk. The biggest stop we'd ever use would be a few ticks above the most recent price pivot. We're price pivoted. That's where the cloud pivoted. That's where price pivoted. And then we're in the trade, and that one, we were basically one and done today. Whether you're trading the 1 minute chart template, you're one and done. Whether you're trading the iGrid scalper automated, you're one and done. The iGrid Evo was one and done. And if you're working the grid GR88 trade, you should have been one and done. Now these indicators, the grid cloud and the grid MA alerts will be added to the grid pack. And I'm going to tell you what's going to be, or in the iGrid pack, and I'll let you know what's all going to be in there. It's going to be a bundle of indicators, including the battle of the bands, the dual bands, which I'll show you here in a minute. But since I'm getting some really detailed questions on, well, what is that? What are these setups? So that was one. So let's look at all these setups. That was the first signal of the day post the 7:32 U.S. Central Time window that I pay attention to. Because a lot of times, we'll get news at 7:30. I want a few minutes to go by before I'm going to start looking for signals. So 7:32, anything past, I get a signal, boom, I'm in. We came all the way down into, let me show you. Well, basically we came down to where the buying started for the ramp in the overnight session. We came down to that area and bounced. Now, if a person for some reason wanted to be long, you did have another signal right here. You got about enough lift out of the signal to get you to your 1-to-1 point, so you can move stop from wherever your stop is to break even plus on the entry. And then obviously came down and gave another signal to the short side right here. I forgot to put a box. So that one was a scratch. The short signal would have been a loser. Gets in, rotates, the cloud goes from red to green, and is coming up through the flat spotted grid MA alerts. Time to bail on that trade. And then we got a wondrous long setup. So I not at all wanted to be a buyer in the market. And after that huge, gigantic move, I didn't really find a need or see a need to re-enter to the short side right as we're back to kind of more in the area of, where the market was before we had this ramp in the overnight session. So now, that was a setup there, qualified, meaning the grid cloud is passing through and we're getting the indicator pattern of alignment there. The indicator pattern was alignment there. The indicator pattern was an alignment here. The indicator pattern was alignment there, there, and that takes us up to about 9 in the morning U.S. Central Time. This pattern is okay. It's not my favorite, where the grid cloud is straddling the grid MA alerts. Now, one caveat I will say, well, that's fine. It's not that big of a detail. So now if I took every signal today, let's just say I took every GR88 trade in a row, I don't know where levels are. I don't know about this big screaming, easy to see W pattern. And then to work the long setup there, after some selling and the market showing some evidence it's starting to stair step higher, we look for W patterns leading up to signals in the GR88 trade, and we look for M patterns leading up to signals. So M patterns for shorts, W patterns for longs. So that was a really nice signal, and that had a nice little rip to it. Now the market retracing about, we'll say roughly almost half this move. If you then wanted to get short, you got another GR88 short trade, and that went all the way down, took out those pivots, went even deeper into end of day yesterday's pricing levels, and then bounced off those levels, gave a long. And then right here where the cloud is straddling the grid MA alerts, they're okay overall signals. I prefer this one where I have both aspects of the cloud, the grid cloud, the green portion, between price and between the grid MA alerts indicator. The cloud passes through and so on. So let's take a quick look at this short. Let's blow it up and see where the entry would have been. Now the nice thing, these indicators have outputs, and we're adding even more. So you can take these components of these indicators with bar close by bar close outputs and tie them into Bloodhound, Blackbird, into Markers Plus, into Algo Studio Pro, and go build and create your own fully automated strategies. That way we don't keep having to build, automated strategies all the time. I'm done with that. I got 2 automated strategies. I got iGrid Evo strategy. I got iGrid Scalper strategy. That's good enough for me. I'll keep building you cool indicators with unique components to their construction, and you can go take those off and do what you want with them automated. Okay, right here. First part of the cloud is plotting through the flat spotted grid MA alerts. Flat spot means we've lost momentum, in this case to the upside. So here's the first portion of the cloud coming through. I'm not going to get in there. I want to see both portions. So right here on that bar, when that bar opened, right there, when that bar closed and that bar opened, right in there, you had a line segment now plotting and protruding below the flat spotted grid MA alerts. So now you have an entry somewhere in here with a market order. Stop, the minimum stop I would say to use is the last pivot on the grid cloud. The most stop you'd ever use is a tick or two prior to the high of the rotation from rally mode to sell side mode. So let's say this is your stop, that's your 1 unit of risk. We'll ballpark it, there's your 1-ish unit of reward. Market oscillates a bit, comes down, tags you. Stop would then go to break even, basically. Or you can just use the ATM and have it trail however you want. I don't trade that way. I personally don't use an ATM function. I don't kind of have to. I'm so used to these trades. When I see something like that, I work into the trade. I have a stop. I just don't have the ATM functionality set up to trail it. This time frame is not that fast, so I've got plenty of time to work activity. As long as I have a stop in place, I'm good. I start seeing where the market's moving to. Typically, what I would do on a trade like this, we get the initial push, we get a little lift back. The first time that the market comes and breaks that first pivot where we got some lift after my entry and starts rotating through, that's typically when I'll take my stop and move it to break even plus. Then I'm in the trade. Then I'm watching. What I'm watching for is at any point is the grid MA alerts flat spotting, and I'm getting both segments of the cloud turning green together and pointing upward if I'm short. And in no case do I have that as we trade lower and lower and lower and lower until right in here. And that was right after we came down and blew out that pivot, did a kind of an intraday little minor level sweep. Then now I'm Johnny on the spot getting ready to blip out. And then this, I'm always paying attention to prior pivot. So let's say I stayed in. I just moved my stop way down. Say I moved my stop somewhere between, this area price and here. Say I moved my stop there. I locked in 3 to 1. And then I see it rotate lower. I'm watching. I'm always watching the prior low pivot. As soon as I see it peek its head and either break and rip on down or break and bounce, I will always move my stop down, usually to the last flat spot that I can see that's just above that action. Then here I got a counter signal. Now I just need to be flat. And that long ripped out of there after a level sweep. So the GR88 chart is doing exceptionally well. And you can get all these tools right now. This is all part of the grid algo program. But the biggie that's on deck that I'm getting flooded with emails for, and I get it, is a really, really strong new version of my adaptive price band. And that is the iGrid band. So today, this morning, pre-market, we had a long out of the EU session. It ramped, came up. We had a short off the high of the day. Early part came down, gave a long. We had some of these little W pattern type looking trades with higher pivot low. I like those for quick scalping sometimes, or M pattern short. So anyhow, bands are about to be released to our group, and they will be in the new iGrid Pack 1 and the pricing is going to be pretty damn good to get in. So to get on the list for access, info@gridalgo.com.